Stop the trial, he's innocent. That was me standing in the back, like I had wandered into the wrong movie saying the one sentence my bones wouldn't let me swallow. The gavel paused in midair, the whole room turning toward the maid, who wasn't supposed to speak, and I felt my heart hammering, while Judge Margaret Lewis narrowed her eyes, and the prosecutor, ADA Kevin Ross, lifted a brow like I'd tracked mud onto his nice, clean floor. I walked down that aisle, slow, palms damp, chin up anyway, and I took the oath with hands that had folded more sheets than I could count then. I looked at Ethan Granger, pale and slumped, and sick from a fever, the week the world said he killed his wife. And I said what I knew, steady, not loud, because truth doesn't need volume, it needs spine. He couldn't have done it. Ross barked. Objection. Speculation. And I didn't even blink, no speculation. Your Honor, I kept the receipts, and by receipts I meant the tiny old camera from the laundry hall that got disconnected when they upgraded to something cloud-based and fancy, the one I'd backed up because that's who I am. I keep a copy of the copy, you know what I mean? So I held up a thumb drive like a pocket knife, and the tech took it, and the judge said, "Let her proceed," and in that quiet that feels like everyone holding the same breath, you could hear the first seconds of a voice trying too hard to be a different man. I know Ethan's voice when he's polite in the morning, short at night, and wrecked by fever in between. The body has a sound. The voice on that video was close, sure, but it had the wrong kind of polish, like a cheap suit pretending to be tailored. So I said it wasn't him, and for a second, the room shifted, small things. A bailiff leaned forward. A juror stopped chewing her cheek. Reporters forgot to blink, and Judge Lewis asked, what every judge asks when the ground moves under the story. If it isn't Mr. Granger, then who? And my eyes went to the man nobody ever watched. Jonathan Bell, legal consultant, neat tie, legal pad, always open, a voice I'd heard late in the study when he thought the staff didn't count. And I pointed. It's him, and the air cracked. People gasped. Ross sputtered. Even Ethan's attorney, William Pierce, looked like a window had blown inward. We recessed for authentication. A forensic analyst named Dr. Leah Kim broke down the spectrograms and the throat math with a calm that made the room go still. Percent certainty. It's Mr. Bell, not Mr. Granger, and that number hit like a door unlocking from the inside. Yeah, that happened, and then Bell vanished. Of course he did, because when the lights swing your way, it's funny how legs remember how to run. That night, Pierce came to me without small talk. We need anything. Renee left, and I told him about the quiet room, no guests ever used. The mirrored panel with a keypad. Renee showed me one afternoon, in case something happens. Maya, her smile tired but bright. The code her birthday, and behind it a safe 3 ledgers in her sharp hand, and a small aluminum case with a drive labeled in tape private. So we drove out to the estate that had started to feel like a museum. Opened the panel and set the things no one wanted to find. On a desk that had only ever known perfect pens, the audio played first, Renee saying, "You think I don't see it, Jonathan," and his voice cool and slippery. "You're paranoid." And then the numbers transfers, shaved so thin, they looked like dust pushed through shell companies, to islands people use as a verb, dates lining up with Ethan's pneumonia, forged signatures slipping through while he slept, and a name that kept repeating like a cough you can't shake. Adam B. Caton, godfather, mentor, the man who gives a toast nobody dares interrupt. The marshals got involved, and a lead out of a financial firm pointed us far south. Savannah rain on cobblestones, a bed and breakfast with too many empty rooms, and there was Bell sunglasses and a shaking hand. The gun came out, the gun came down, I told him. You built a lie and tried to make us live in it. Ethan stepped from the shadows with a voice that made the walls square their shoulders. You used my name to bury me, and Bell broke, not heroic, not tragic, just small. And he confessed to the forgery, the fake recording. The frame said he didn't kill Renee. And maybe he believed that, maybe he just couldn't say it out loud. Back in court, the air felt different. The jury didn't lean away from Ethan anymore. They leaned in, and when the foreman read, "Not guilty," it wasn't fireworks. It was more like a weight sliding off a buried door, the kind of sound only the person trapped beneath truly hears. Ethan just exhaled. Pierce squeezed my hand under the table. Judge Lewis tossed the obstruction charge built on Bell's lie, and we walked into sunlight, with reporters asking questions shaped like knives. "Did you change the system?" And I said, "No, I told the truth and didn't let go." I wish that was the end. I wish a verdict fixed rot. But rot travels in networks, and when you clean one floor, you finally hear the creak in the ceiling. The ledgers and the drive led deeper money. Slithering through a ghost firm, and behind that, a fixer with a resume written in shadows. Vera Steele, the kind of person who doesn't knock, she sends a message to the person who answers the door. Mine came as a brake line. That suddenly wasn't there. A hydrant taking a bite out of my front bumper, the airbag burning my forearms, and the mechanic saying, "This wasn't where, this was a decision." So we followed the coordinates. Renee hid in a margin next to the word failsafe. A cabin upstate. A floorboard that clicked. If you pressed just so, another drive emails like stage directions. "The maid is watching. Handle it." And a server log that painted the outlines of a machine, bigger than a single trial. Bigger than a single name, so the feds built a plan with more locks than a bank, simultaneous warrants before dawn. They called it Falling Star, and in one day, a dozen people who thought they were untouchable learned what concrete and fluorescent light really look like. Vera in cuffs, Caton with his perfect hair rumpled a judge, a partner at a white shoe firm, a senator who always talked about roads and bridges now worrying about extradition and bail. And still, real life waited where the cameras don't reach. Ethan asked me to come inside the company, not with a mop, but with a badge, help me clean it for real. And I said yes, because I knew where the dust hides. And on my first morning, the lobby smelled like lemons and old promises. A director named Franklin tried a joke. The maid turned moral compass, and I smiled, the kind of smile that cancels a meeting. Then I laid out what we would cut every vendor tied to the scheme, every manager who signed off while looking away. And when a midnight memo tried to push layoffs onto the people with the smallest paychecks, I brought it into the boardroom and said, "You hired me to clean, not to burn the things that still work." And we voted, and he packed a box. That's how you learn some rooms, only respect a door closing. We rewrote the company creed, so it wasn't framed words. No one believed we made it something simple. You could say on a Tuesday, build with truth, with fairness, with purpose. Protect people, not just numbers, and the stock had its little panic. Then remembered what sunlight does for mold. Yeah, that happened. And I still rode the subway and waved at the bodega guy who slips an extra packet of hot sauce into my bag. Because he thinks I look like I might need it. Because under all this, I'm still the woman who knows which drawer the batteries live in and keeps a backup anyway. People ask if I ever got scared. Of course I did. I'm not a statue, but fear is a noisy neighbor. And if you let it live rent-free, it will rearrange your furniture. So I kept busy. I kept honest. I kept Renee's final note by my desk. If they silence me, let the evidence speak, and I let it. And when a letter came with no return address, justice has a longer memory than you do. I laughed a little because mine is long too, you know what I mean? And for every person who said a maid didn't belong at a board table, there were 10 messages from people who've been ignored their whole lives, saying they felt a little taller, just watching me stand up and point at a man in a perfect suit and call him what he was, Maybe you think I went too far. Maybe you think I didn't go far enough. Maybe you don't like that. A woman who cleaned baseboards ended up holding a key to a glass office, and maybe you're right. That power doesn't fix you. It just makes you busier, but I will tell you what I know. In the voice I used that first day, low and steady. I didn't change the system, I changed the room I was in, and sometimes that's how it begins, one room at a time, one truth at a time, one person deciding they're done whispering. So tell me in the comments what you see when you look at this. Was I right to stand up and say, stop the trial? Did I cross a line when I kept pushing into places I wasn't invited? What do you believe about guilt and money and who gets believed first? Drop your take, your story, your anger, your hope. I'll be here reading, replying, saving the parts that matter. Because the story isn't over, it's just your turn to speak.